Patreon, Ian?
Patreon.com/CUPodcast. That's where the cool kids go to listen to the rock music. If you want to
get a malt,
if you want to support us, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You support us with a chosen amount of dollars. Press a couple buttons on the old website-a-roo.
It's not like real money. It's your credit card.
Get some stuff in return. I do writings about once a week. We do monthly hangouts. I did mine last week. You get the full video podcast, and you also get to participate in these weekly polls.
I only did 2 this week. In second place, it's hanging on. What do you miss most about gaming conventions? 29%. People, there's a hardcore following. And in the first place, at 71%, Ian, your most disappointing Christmas gifts. This could be anything. This is just games, anything.
So this is actually kind of difficult for me because when I really, really think back on it, I have not been disappointed by a ton of Christmas
There was
gifts.
none.
I have not been disappointed by a ton of Christmas gifts.
Okay.
I haven't. In general, my parents have had a pretty good idea of what to get me. But there was the year that I got the Sega Menacer for Christmas.
The light gun?
Yeah. And it sucked so bad.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just not good?
It uses the same infrared technology as the Super Scope does.
Okay, you put a little thing on top of the TV?
So it's not just a light gun like
receiver.
Right, but there's a receiver, and I think that I'm not sure why the Super Scope and the Menacer needed it. It didn't seem to make it more accurate by any means, but it did seem to allow for rapid fire.
That's exactly why. Yeah.
So I could hold down a button and get rapid fire as opposed to...
Otherwise it's chiller.
Right.
And you can't... Doesn't matter.
So with the Zapper, you only can fire off one shot at a time, which makes some games that you were supposed to play with the Zapper on the NES, like I think Operation Wolf, fairly difficult.
Oh, it's really tough with a Zapper, Operation Wolf.
Yeah, very difficult because there is no rapid fire. Unfortunately, it came at a cost, and I only ever owned the pack-in game with it that had like 6 mini games on it. It was essentially the Sega's version of the Super Scope 6, and like... And they weren't good. Like one of them was like keep a ball, or like it was like the gun was like a flashlight, and you had to keep like a light on a ball as you moved it around. Oh, really?
It was like tech demo stuff.
And there was like there was one where it was you were also the ball, and you had to like bounce other balls and keep them like in the air. There was a couple of cool ones. There was a Toe Jam and Earl one, which was like a scrolling like belt shooter, like the arcade game shooters.
Okay.
And it had like all the characters and all the weird stuff from like the first Toe Jam and Earl in there, and there was some fun interactions and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, it was awful, and I don't think it was well supported either. I think one of the only games.
I'll look it up right now. Sega Menacer games.
I think one of the only games that supported it was T2 the arcade game.
Yeah, because I have that box variant where it came with that.
Yeah, so I think T2 the arcade game is one of the only ones that it was usable with.
There were 8 games only.
So
and half were Sega CD. No, you're right. Most were Sega CD, so you can't even count those. You can count them. Here you go. The Menacer 6-game cart, which was packed in. It was not available separately, I don't think.
No.
And, well, maybe it was if the Terminator 2 version you had to buy separately.
I've never seen a separate 6-game cart.
Well, there's a box on eBay, so you can get it in a box.
It came with the box. It came with a box.
Oh, I didn't know that. I should pick up the box just to have it, because I never saw it. Okay. Terminator 2. And the last one on the Mega Drive or Sega channel was Body Count, which did not come out here. What the hell is Body Count? Never heard of that. It's a rail shooter. And then there was ones on the Sega CD. Mad Dog McCree.
Okay.
That makes sense. Who Shot Johnny Rock?
Okay, so the American Laser games.
Mad Dog 2.
Okay.
Which is not as good as the first one. Corpse Killer.
Yeah.
And Crime Patrol.
Okay. I thought those used the
Justifier.
Actually.
Probably both, I'm guessing.
Mad Dog would be functional with the Justifier, but Who Shot Johnny Rock and Crime Patrol might not have been. Those might have used like the rapid fire.
So the Justifier didn't use the infrared, right? That was light gun?
Justifier did not use infrared, if I recall. It's just a plug-in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's right, because then you bought the second gun to plug in directly. Same for Super Nintendo. Okay, wow, that's a really bad count. I mean, not that the Super Nintendo was great with their games either. It was probably around 6 games, but that's really low.
Yeah, it was not good, and it just wasn't fun to use, and it came at that age where I knew, obviously, I did not believe in Santa, and I wanted it. My brother wanted it, and it was just. I knew we weren't going to use it very much, and I felt bad that my parents had wasted the money on it.
Well, how much do you think it was back then? Like $100?
I remember it was 80. It was 80 bucks. I remember. So I remember the year we asked for it. I remember the commercial was like under $80, $79.99. So it wasn't like everything for Christmas, but it was a big chunk of both of our Christmases. And like I said, I felt bad. You know, your parents want you to be happy for Christmas. They get you what you ask for, and then you find out that what you asked for is a giant load of shit.
Well, they didn't do good in the Super Nintendo either. That's right. There was only several games, and a couple of them were just bonus things like Lemmings 2. You could like shoot in 2-player co-op mode. You can like shoot the lemmings or something. And there was another weird one. Lamborghini American Challenge. There's a Super Scope exclusive mode that's like not the main game. It's just they threw it in.
Battle Clash
Hunt for Red October has a bonus game that you can use it optionally.
Battle Clash and the other one were actually pretty fun games
5,
in practice,
6,
but
7.
the scope sucked to use.
So there's only 9 Super Scope games where you needed it. There's only 9. So 9 versus 8. So
Battle Clash, Metal Combat, Yoshi's Safari. What's the one? It's like In the Zone or X Zone.
X Zone was hard to find.
Like
T2 had the support.
T2
and Bazooka Blitzkrieg. That's an Operation Thunderbolt.
Okay, Operation Thunderbolt. I did not know about.
Very uncommon game. So it's interesting because now I'm looking at the. Now we're making about light guns. They didn't. I don't think the Genesis. I don't think Sega planned to support this. Shocker, because it came out and then a week later, Terminator 2 came out and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, then it was all Sega CD and that was it.
And if I recall correctly,
that's really bad strategy because even Nintendo had 2 or 3 games out pretty quick when it came out.
And as I recall, this was a couple of years after the Super Scope too. So I'm just wondering why it ever got done. It was one of those things that they just like put the R&D into, and they were like, "All right, well, I guess we gotta shove it out there."
According to this, it was the same year. 92.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because the Super Nintendo came out in '91, so they had a few years on it. They waited for the Super Scope. It seems like on here. So okay, so that's your bad one, and we know Home Alone 2 was bad.
Yeah,
we know that. Okay. What were my bad ones? So, Christmas of '88 will go down as the worst Christmas ever. I feel bad because I was a whiny brat that day, but it was a bad Christmas because Zelda 2 never arrived. We can talk about that, and that's what I really wanted.
Yeah, we all know that one.
I got two my first Lego castle sets. I got the smaller gray good guys and the larger bad guys black castle. I got those. That was good. But then I got Zero Gravity Cliffhangers, which was fucking garbage. The one that goes up the wall. You all remember the commercial. Zero Gravity Cliffhanger. It had a one loop, went up in the wall. When I say that thing did not work, it did not work. I don't know if it's because we had on a carpet and there was something with electromagnetic action, but on the commercial, you press the trigger, that thing would zip up the wall. When I had it, we tried it on Christmas, it would go up the wall and get stuck, go up the wall and fall down. They said, whoa, you can improve the track by rubbing eraser on it or some charcoal thing or something. It was garbage. And that was the only, I felt bad because those commercials were always on for those track racers. Then they came out with the one that you would switch lanes and try to.
Yeah.
I was put off after that. Put off forever. I probably would be better off buying for a cheap one because that was an expensive gift.
I love slot cars, but my buddy had,
Did he have Zero Gravity Cliffhangers?
He did, and I remember it working, but I never could do it. I remember him like sitting in his room and watching him, and he got it around a couple of times.
It's tough.
But I couldn't fucking.
You had to like time it like a real race car.
It was very
not
difficult.
Not as advertised. Then I looked it up afterwards. They had cliffhangers. It came before that had that. Didn't have the extra loop, but it had up the wall. So that was garbage.
Yeah, up the wall is what I remember. Not the loop, just the up the wall part.
Yeah. So Zero Gravity had up the wall, then it had a little loop.
Gotcha.
I believe that they added. I believe. So that was returned, and honestly, I probably end up buying another NES game. With that or something, or my dad gave me the cash or something. Because when you are 8 years old, you want cash. Cash is like, it's hard to get cash except your grandparents give you money for your birthday or your aunt.
And then you immediately blow it on candy.
No, I saved that for games. So I was I'd buy a comic book here and there when I was a kid, or a GI Joe. But GI Joes were cheap. That's the thing. It's like, oh, here, mom, here's $2. They're on sale. Buy one get one at Kmart. Buy a couple GI Joes, things like that. But that was a bad gift. Zero Gravity Cliffhangers. Radio Shack, Highway Radio Shack LCD was disappointing, and the only reason I want to say it was bad, for some reason in '86, all the aunts and uncles on the one side, it must have been a Secret Santa thing, decided to buy everyone a handheld Radio Shack. I don't know if it was a new thing in '86. I think they came out maybe a year or two before that, Radio Shack, but they put out their own line of handhelds. Ian knows this. He's an expert.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 4 or 5 of them. Alien Attack.
There's a tank battle.
Tank, which I
Highway.
have now. And there was a volcano one. And then there was Highway. So all my cousins got the exciting like Alien Attack and Tank. I got Highway.
They're like, well, what's left? Pat gets Highway.
Well, Uncle John, you got that one for what they did a Secret Santa probably. So I got Highway. And Highway isn't a bad game. When you play these Radio Shack games, for the time, they were more advanced than a lot of these other earlier ones. To me, they were. But when you get Highway, you get made fun of. When everyone gets Alien Attack and fucking tanks shit, and you're dropping off. It's weird because you're like getting hitchhikers, which isn't safe anyway, and dropping them off, and you're avoiding hitting dogs in the highway. There's a cool little slot machine thing though in the game. So I said it was advanced at the time, this one, but looking back, I was disappointed in Highway. But I played the hell out of it until I got my Tiger LCD. The first one I got was like football, I think in '87, a year later.
I like that football one. It's fun.
Tiger ones are solid. They're solid for the most part.
The early Tiger ones are solid. The later Tiger
you
ones
don't
are
like-
all dog shit. All dog shit. Just,
No. All seen of it. Ninja Gaiden was fun. Ninja Gaiden.
all right.
You had power ups. Ninja Gaiden was semi complex. Ninja Gaiden. But anyway, so that was disappointing. Going back to toys. Looking back, I should not have asked for the Chuck Norris figures. I don't know why Pat would ask for Chuck Norris figures in the late '80s. There was no TV show with Chuck Norris. It was a weird line of toys. They weren't bad toys. I had the ninja with the arm. You wound up the arm and it spun around and it could hit you in the face with a little weapon, like a little Sith on a little mini rope. Chuck Norris, you squeeze his legs and he did a nunchuck action. But it was a weird thing. Was there a Chuck Norris cartoon? Because what did they base the toys on?
I don't know.
There was a Chuck Norris cartoon, Karate Commandos with a K. That was not on TV. They did 5 episodes. Wow, that was on September 15th of 1986. Well, I know it was that Christmas then. That was also around the same time they started coming out with the Karate Kid figures with the second movie.
Right.
So it was around that same time. And the Karate Kid cartoon, though, I believe came out 8 later. Because there was a couple of series of the Karate Kid toys. Didn't have any of those. I don't know how I asked for this because I never watched this cartoon ever. But that was Chuck Norris did star as himself though. Good for you, Chuck. You actually did the voice because I don't think Stallone did his voice in the Rambo cartoon. Absolutely not. He's like, I'm too busy. So anyway, he was a U.S. government operative with a team of racially diverse warriors known as the Karate Commandos. I do remember he had a couple of different figures there. So anyway, that was disappointing just because I got the 2 figures and never played with them after that. I didn't advance the line. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Transformers. You get a bunch of G.I. Joe. That was it. That was disappointing. Looking back in retrospect, Atari Warriors was definitely disappointing to get that as a game gift. Definitely disappointing. Stanley Cup hockey, NHL Stanley Cup for Super Nintendo was definitely disappointing. I hyped myself up so much for that game. And then with the Mode 7, boy, that was a mistake. I struggled to get through a season of that. And I don't think I completed the whole season of that. Even as good old plucky Brian Leach on the Rangers.
It was a neat look, but yeah, that
was a rough game to play. That's like to get from one end to the other. You time that out. It takes like 20 seconds to skate from one. It takes forever.
Does it really to get from one side of the ice to the other?
It seems super slow. It's like you're walking across the ice compared to playing like NHL. So that was disappointing. I talked about this before. I was overly bratty looking back, but I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, maybe a little bit older. My mom got me the giant tin of popcorn, different flavored popcorns, where I never expressed a like for popcorn in my life ever, for caramel popcorn or cheese. So I was overly upset. I should have been smacked. I was overly crappy that day. I was crazy there. So that was really bad. But the worst ever, and the one I feel bad with because my reaction cannot be held in, to my aunt, my born again Christian aunt, rest in peace, Aunt Jo. I was probably 10 years old.
Aunt or great aunt?
Aunt.
Okay.
My Aunt Jo.
I always wonder because I had a great aunt that we called Aunt, and I know a lot of other people who did too.
Okay.
So I can never know if Aunt is
Hey,
Aunt or Aunt.
It's like if you're Italian, you're all cousins.
Yeah.
And they're like second cousin, eighth removed, or whatever. So I have one aunt on the one side, one uncle. So I was 9 years old, maybe 10, and we all get clothes for Christmas every year. We all get a shirt, we get slacks. Maybe socks is like the big thing on Christmas Story. They throw it over their heads. I hate socks. I think I actually got socks, by the way. I would get clothes. My sister would get me like a nice Banana Republic shirt. My sister was always good for fashion for me, like in my teens into my 20s. She always gonna pick out something that was
nice.
reasonable. Because I was, now I'm pretty good, but back in my early 20s, I was horrible. So clothes is to be expected. What my aunt got me, though, was a blue with a red striped heavy cotton jogging suit. Full. Zip up top, full pants.
Did you do a lot of jogging?
No.
No, okay.
And I think my aunt realized that. Hence the impetus to get me that.
You're going to work out this year, Patrick.
Thick but quick. But it was an embarrassing outfit that a 9 or 10-year-old would never, ever, ever wear. You don't see 9-year-olds wearing matching jogging suits. Like,
No.
you don't see 9-year-olds jogging. The look on my face, I feel so bad because I could not pretend to even, I could not hold in my disappointment on all fronts. Not just that you got me a jogging suit. You're basically telling me you're fat, you should work out. Basically, is what you're saying. But it was god awful. I never wore it at the time. Like, I felt bad because she realized, I was just like I couldn't pretend. You're 9 years old. You can't pretend.
Oh!
It's like I couldn't.
What is this?
My reaction would have been better for socks, to be honest, because like
Sure.
at least I'd wear the socks. It did not go over well. I was at my grandparents. They gave it was great because on my grandparents, you would go over Christmas night. You'd open up your presents Christmas Day. Then you go over Christmas night and you have the meat sauce. Oh God, maron. You get the stuff. My grandma makes stuffed shells, obviously sausage and brajol, and the meatballs. You had the salad and the bread. Then you'd open up presents. So it was like it was a whole day of opening presents at Christmas. Then sometimes
Eating.
And then sometimes you go over. That was supper. That was like 2 p.m. So it was great. So then you go over to your their side of the family at night. So you have like 2 nice big meals. You had supper at like 2. Then you go over later and have maybe go over for dessert later. So it was spread out. You might get a present from a great aunt, but probably not. So that to me was the most disappointing present I'd ever gotten or will ever receive, likely. And then years later, I want to say I was 14. My sister took a picture of me. I tried on. I was way too big, and my gut was hanging at the bottom. So it was a very attractive picture of me. I hope my sister has a picture. I'm in the pants. The pants don't fit, and the top is like coming down to like my belly button, and my gut's hanging at the bottom. My sister snapped a picture of it. And that was before we probably gave it away or threw it out. It was like 5 years later. You know, I was like probably 14 years old. So Monica, if you're listening out there, find that picture of me. It's somewhere because it's probably on a disposable camera from like 94, 95 of me trying on that awful jogging suit years later. And those were my most disappointing presents I ever got. Screw you, zero gravity cliffhangers. That was a joke, that present.